That means we've only got 2 minutes to get to the station. Oh, cockle-doodle-doo, Neil. What are you talking about? We've just been selected to be on the University Challenge tonight. To the station! Music! So before we go visit somebody's famous grave today, which is that of Fast Eddie Clarke, I'm going to read you all his Wikipedia article. Because, I don't really know all this off the top of my head. Okay, so I'm born Edwin Allen Clarke in 5th of October 1950, passed away 10th of January 2018. Better known as Fast Eddie Clarke, was a British guitarist who was a member of the heavy metal bands Fastway and Motorhead. Of Motorhead's classic lineup, which consisted of Lemmy and Phil "Filthy" Animal Taylor, he was the last surviving member at the time of his death. So, the reason why he's buried in Twickenham is because he was actually born there, and he actually died in London. So, Clarke began playing guitar, and by the time he was 15 years old, he'd been through many local bands, one of which was called The Bitter End. A piece of Fast Monkey. Clarke said, I didn't get the name Fast Eddie because of any sex thing, and it wasn't even because I could play fast. It was just that I could play one note in a solo really fast, referring to his skillful tremolo picking. He continued playing local gigs until 1973, when he turned professional by joining Curtis Knight's blues rock band Zeus as lead guitarist. In 1974, the band recorded an album called The Second Coming at Olympic Studios. Clarke wrote the music to Knight's lyrics on his track entitled The Confession. Clarke recorded the album Sea of Time with Zeus, later with the guitarist friend Alan Callan, keyboard player Nicky Hogg, and drummer Chris Perry. Clarke attended a recording jam session at Command Studio in Piccadilly. As a result of the tracks from the session, the quartet secured a deal with Anchor Records and called the band Blue Goose. With a recording contract secured, Clarke, Hogg, and Perry left Zeus to focus on their own project with Callan. Clarke soon formed another band with bebop with deluxe bassist Charlie Tomai, vocalist Anne McCluskey, and Jim Thompson drums. Called continuous performance with this lineup lasted until early 1975 when the Demi Tracks failed to secure them a record deal and the band split up. Still had to secure a record deal, Clarke then formed a group with Nicky Hogarth from Blues Goose, bass player Tony Cousin, and drummer Terry Slater. Their efforts to get a deal were also unsuccessful, and Clarke temporarily gave up the music industry. And on to the Motorhead section. Clarke's working on refitting a houseboat when he met drummer Phil Taylor, who had recently joined Metalhead. However, according to Kilmister's authorized biography, it appeared that Clarke was introduced to Lemmy by a receptionist at the rehearsal studio, Gertie, who was romantically involved with Clarke at the time. Not long after he was playing with them, in the early days, and he rehearsed with Metalhead before going onto the road at Snob Rehearsal Studios, part of the converted brewery on the corner of Kings Road and Lot Road, Chelsea, known as the Furniture Cave. Motorhead's popularity increased along with the UK chart success. The threesome, Lemmy, Clarke, Taylor, are considered the classic Motorhead lineup, and have the Motorhead, Overkill, Ace of Spades, Bomber, No Sleep to Hammersmith, and Iron Fist albums, plus a string hit singles to the credits. He performed lead vocal on 5 Metalhead songs, Beer Drinkers and Hellraisers, on which he traded vocals with Lemmy, I'm Your Witch Doctor, and when he duets vocals with Lemmy, Step Down and Emergency. One of the B-side tracks on the St. Valentine's Day Massacre EP, upon which they formed Please Don't Touch with Girl School under the combined name Head Girl. Departure from Motorhead. Clarke left Motorhead in 1982 on tour of the United States, becoming unhappy at the result of the Iron Fist album. Recording sessions with the Plastic Mystics were the final straw. For the B-side of Stand By Your Man EP, the band took turns in covering each other's songs. Clarke later felt that this compromised the band's principles and resigned. According to Joe McClover, Clarke himself later denied this version of events, and he said, Filthy was the main instigator in me being excluded from the band. Notice I do not call it leaving, as it was not my choice. I had imagined dying on stage in Motorhead, so it was a blow when they didn't want me in the band any longer. Clarke was replaced by former Finley's guitarist and Wild Horses lead guitarist Brian Robertson, after Anthem frontman Steve Lips could have turned down the offer to play with Metalhead. Clarke's last gig with Metalhead took place at the New York Palladium on the 14th of May 1982. Another cameo from Clarke on a later Metalhead album was on 2000's Live at the Brixton Academy, released in 2003, on which the band featured many guest appearances from other guitarists, on which he was playing the songs No Class, The Chase is Better Than the Catch and Overkill. So, Fastway Clarke wasn't on that Young Ones episode. Fastway, hearing that UFO bassist Peter Way was keen to leave the band, the two men decided the new name would be an amalgamation of their own two names, resulting in Fastway. They advertised in the music press for a drummer and a vocalist. Meanwhile, a rehearsal was organised for which Clash drummer Topa Hedden filled in on drums. The ads began showing positive results. Cassettes from potential band members arrived. One of these was from young singer named Dave King. Clarke was impressed with his voice and financed a trip to London for King after the audition together. King became the Fastway vocalist. Ex-Humble Pie member Jerry Shirley became the drummer. The band sent out demo tapes and were approached by CBS Records for a record deal. Way announced his departure just as they were about to sign the deal, but CBS had faith in Fastway and decided to sign them despite the setback. Touring had been strenuous for the band, and upon returning to Britain, they signed a split. Clarke stayed in London and then soon received a call from King about giving Fastway another go. Clarke agreed to move to Ireland with another album for CBS in review. They rehearsed with 3 of King's friends. The record label was happy with the sound and had them record at London Apple Road Studios with producer Terry Martin, resulting in Waiting for the Roar in 1986. Clarke toured America with Fastway supporting AC/DC, followed by a lengthy European tour which promoted 1992's album Say What You Will, the live album. Fastway were also engaged to provide music for the Trick or Treat film soundtrack, for which they composed the title track and performed Heft and If You Could See It from the albums. Trick or Treat is a really cult movie with a lot of references to heavy metal. Later days, after the band split up again, Clarke moved back to London and met up with Lee Hart, a solo artist in the Far East. Clarke's record deals had now expired, so the pair took a demo tape and Douglas Smith, Clarke's former Metalhead manager at GWI Records, who willingly signed a deal, released the name Fastway. They recorded their on-target album and featured Don Airy and Paul Airy on keyboards, Neil Murray on bass, plus Bram Tchaikovsky of the Motors and Christine Byford, also a backing vocalist. So, Clarke's group now consisted of Riff Raff on drums, keyboards and bass, plus assorted friends helping out Biff Byford and Nigel Glocker saxon, Don Airy and Kim McAuliffe and Chris Bernacchi of Girl School for the production of the 2 albums of Clarke and Hart split up.
However, the excess he had indulged in with Motorhead had taken their toll, and led to Clarke being admitted to hospital, spending time afterwards in recuperation. Having recovered, Clarke released a solo album, and Overture Flavor, which blends Motorhead and Fastway styles. Lemmy also helped out on the album by writing and singing the track Laugh at the Devil. Double CD released Fastway, Clarke and Fellow G on Sanctuary Records showcased the collection of Clarke's music spanning his career before and after Motorhead, and also marked a return to live performances with a reformed Fastway, including an appearance in the UK at the Download Festival in the summer of 2007. In 2014, Clarke went back to his blues roots and released a new album through Secret Records. Make My Day, Back to the Blues was a collaboration between Clarke and the keyboardist from Shakata, Bill Sharp. Clarke reunited with Lemmy on the 6th of November 2014 at the National Indoor Arena in Birmingham to play Motorhead track The Ace of Spades. Clarke died on the 10th of January 2018 at age 67 in a hospital where he was being treated with pneumonia. So it's been 4 years since Fastway Clarke passed away. He was the last original member of Metalhead to die from the classical lineup. And so, you know, Lemmy's buried in Hollywood, or Los Angeles, whatever you want to call it. Phil Taylor is buried in Haslin near Sheffield. And today we are going to Twickenham. That's right, we live behind Richmond right there. And we're crossing the bridge over the Thames to get to Twickenham. So let's go, shall we? So you see that Anglican church down there, like I think it's called St. Mary Magdalene's, that is where P.L. Travers is buried. You know, the Australian-born author who was born in Brisbane before the Federation of Australia. She immigrated to United Kingdom and wrote Mary Poppins. And you know, you could hear about her story in that movie, like, you know, Saving Mr. Banks, something like that. But anyway, this vlog is more about Motorhead. Here we are, London Borough of Richmond upon Thames, Twickenham Cemetery. Cemetery is open 10 AM to 4:15 PM. Decent, so I've made here in time. So Find a Grave hasn't told me what part of the cemetery Fast-Eddie is buried at. All I know is that his tombstone has a bit of a shape of a guitar, and I think it was in a... I think it must have been like a newer section of the cemetery. I mean, as far as I know, like, I mean, this is the only Twickenham cemetery, and Find a Grave has given me the right address. So all I need to do now is find where Fast-Eddie is buried. There are a few other famous British actors, actresses, and, you know, army men and, you know, Victoria Cross recipients that are buried in the cemetery, but I've never even heard of any of those people. Now, I wouldn't really call myself a Motorhead fan. I first listened to them around 2006, but in my life I was always interested in the bands that Motorhead had influenced. I mean, you can actually say that Motorhead were one of the earliest influences in thrash metal. Motorhead, I wouldn't really call as new wave of British heavy metal because they started way before other New Orleans bands. But, you know, Metalhead influenced so many other bands in heavy metal. You know, thrash metal, death metal, black metal, speed metal, industrial metal, I believe, yeah. Because the funny thing was, how you got Sepultura was basically the guys in like Max and Igor that were translating Motorhead's Dance to New Grave, and grave in Portuguese is Sepultura. And that's one of the first Portuguese words I ever learnt. Hey, check out the surname, look, Lancaster. Might be related to Penny Lancaster, you know, Rod Stewart's wife. Boys and girls, I am the man of my word. In section S of Twickenham Cemetery, right in front of this marker, we have the grave of Edward Allen Clarke. And here he is, born the 5th of October 1950, passed away 10th of January 2018. Beloved son of Alan and Marjorie, Fast-Eddie, born to rock, uncompromising, unique, loved and remembered forever in our hearts, Marco and Cookie. I've got no idea who Marco and Cookie are. There might be his children, or there might have been his friends, but or maybe his siblings. But here he is. There he is. So, if you come to England and visit two members of Metalhead, just remember, Fast-Eddie's buried in London, and Phil Taylor, Filthy Animal, is buried in Hassland. So before I go home back to London today, I like to leave a tiny empty bottle of Jack Daniels in honour of Fast-Eddie. Now, I am a sober person. I'm coming up, what am I, just past 14 months sober, so I did not drink any of this Jack Daniels. I just found this empty Jack Daniels bottle outside the front of my house the other day, so I thought this would be a touching gift to leave for Fast-Eddie, even though it's empty. I mean, I'm pretty sure he drank a lot of Jack Daniels at Lemmy, and after all, I call it Jack Daniels and Coke a Lemmy in honour of the Motorhead frontman. Rock in power, rest in power. God bless Fast-Eddie Clarke. So ladies and gentlemen, if you want to visit Fast-Eddie Clarke's grave in Twickenham Cemetery, all you got to do is front entrance, alright? You have the front entrance, and you have to go all the way to the back of the cemetery to letter S, way at the back, and he's right in front of the S marker. So I hope this gives you a bit of an inspiration to come and visit Fast-Eddie's grave. I'm so stoked that I'm actually right here next to Fast Eddie. You know, this guy is responsible for a lot of people's careers in all types of heavy metal. And even though there are no longer no original members of Metalhead like left living, Metalhead will always live on from generation to generation to generation. Thanks to people like Fast Eddie, Lemmy, Phil Taylor Animal. And let's not forget all the other people who were also in Motorhead, you know, including Mickey D, who's playing with Scorpions, and that Walsh guy, I can't remember his name, but he was like the last guitarist in Motorhead. It'll come to my head soon. So anyway, this is Martin Metalhead here, coming from Twickenham. Rock on Fast Eddie, I'm over and out.